Indigenous insectoids weaving you the void, drought in your brain, making you insane. Wrapping up Benjamin Fulford, living the absurd like a blue avian nerd, keeping the lines blurred. Captain Mark Richards, a secret space program grifter, getting married while in prison, making you listen, create a new religion, doing the reptilian, making you forget my sins. Super soldier talks in prison, Nordic and Draco, shape shifting in my Winnebago. Indigenous insectoids weaving you the void, drown in your brain, making you insane. Rapping the Benjamin Fulford, living the absurd like a blue avian nerd, keeping the lines rapping like Benjamin Fulford, living the absurd like a blue avian nerd, keeping the lines blurred. Rapping like Benjamin Fulford. Word. Extraterrestrial hybridized DNA. Don't need to worry about tooth decay. Kevin Spacey and his clone are feeling alone. Men who stare at goats. The real society road. Super Soldier Sunday, just another fun day. 75 years on Mars, lying about the stars. Captain Richard charms like Charles Manson's gun. Liars in the sun. Liars in the sun. Monsters in the sun. Montauk, super soldier talk, super space program. Let's jam. Montauk, super soldier talk, super space program. Let's jam.
All right, welcome to Not My Rabbit Hole. And I would like to invite my guest, Jerry Avalos. Welcome to Not My Rabbit Hole again.
Hey, good to see you.
And good to
Glad
see
be
you.
here.
Yeah, well, thank you
you for
for
the
being. Oh, yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a while since I've actually interviewed anybody. And I think maybe like even one of the last interviews I've done was with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, been
Pretty
a little bit of
close.
time then.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a while since I think, well, maybe I had somebody a while ago, but I've done a lot of my own reviewing content, looking and covering certain things and everything. So, Jerry, I know that you've been here before, but I want to get a little bit of background on how you're involved with working with psychic abilities. Now, did you work with the military on that or with organizations?
Mhm. Well, that's kind of where they're yes and no in a sense. Okay. For since I was growing up, ever since I can remember, essentially, I had experiences at Edwards Air Force Base. And while I never was in the military myself, I didn't enlist, etc. There's military in my family, but my parents weren't in the military, for instance. And so I did learn a lot from that, one way or another. And then subsequently, as years went on, I actually did apprentice for a while with the government remote viewer. So in terms of conscious, tutelage, yes, that actually happened too, of course. And yeah, so and then I've apprenticed and just kind of tutored with a lot of other people of different disciplines at one point, because I wanted to find out as much as I could. And because what I find is that throughout the culture, throughout the method, like we're all essentially talking about the same things. I mean, we just have different names for them, and then there's different techniques to derive whatever kind of intuitive information that you're trying to get, and that's kind of that's really kind of come down to the person or the individual. But yeah, I'd say that because of and this is where I guess we're fall under the military abduction phenomenon category. And like how we were talking a little bit before about the quote unquote super soldier thing is like a moniker that was put on by researchers later as it relates to the, I guess, apparently the programs that were started in Nazi Germany and carried over a little bit to America with the now infamous Project Paperclip, things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And there does seem to be a tangibility to that research, and that was one of the things that I found once it occurred to me that my experiences weren't just like personal reflections or dreams. You know what I mean? So because yeah, there was too much, once again, tangibility in terms of the information that I was getting and was privy to when I shouldn't have any knowledge of it, in a sense, like locations on bases and stuff like that.
So do you are some of these memories, are they flashbacks for you, or do you have conscious memories of being in these places? And I mean, what age were you when you were like on these bases?
I guess it goes back as far as I can remember. Like I always knew about it, the first memories were of this kind of, I used to kind of call it a lab room. It seemed to like it was kind of like a sterile-ish kind of room, lots of stainless steel fixtures and stuff like this.
How old were you
years
at
later,
this point?
I would have been single digits. Like as far as my memory goes back, I would say like my earliest memories are probably like around age 3 or 4 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, really? That young?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's why it was just normal to me in a sense, because that's the other thing for those who aren't familiar with my story. I'm a natural born intuitive lucid dreamer and astral projector. So to me, when I close my eyes and go to sleep, I'm just in another place. So I'm awake. I'm fully conscious. I mean, that's just how life was for me. And so like a lot of these experiences, they would bridge through that a lot of times. And so I would have pretty vivid recollection, but then in there was stuff that, like, especially as time went on, I realized at one point that I was probably being drugged and a bunch of other stuff, which made it difficult to recall, because I think I really wasn't supposed to recall anything. But
At what age do you think that you were drugged, would you say?
Probably pretty early on, because like just
like in the single digits?
Maybe because there's certain states that, like, once I got older and wanted to understand like the entheogenic practices of different substances, and then I would say have mushrooms or something like that, and I'd be like, this feels familiar. I mean, like there's things that I'm like, I've been on this before, and like I never had consciously like, oh, let me give it a try. I mean, and yeah, because like I wasn't supposed to retain stuff, but I was retaining information. You know what I mean? And that's where I gleaned probably the most from, because this is one of the things, just a tip for a lot of reviewers out there. If you hear a My Lab experiencer or someone who calls himself a super soldier, number one, they're probably lying. Because no one who calls them wants to call themselves that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then number two, if they say, oh, I was part of a detachment of 120 other abductees who are also generals in the alien, they're lying. Because that's not what happened. Like it was terrifying. Like I was literally being kidnapped. You know what I mean? And sometimes I wouldn't know if I was coming back. You know what I mean? And they didn't tell you, oh, you're a select group of blah, blah, blah. No, dude, no, they didn't. They didn't at all. They wanted you to serve like a machine. You know what I mean? Feel nothing, do what they say. That's what it was like. And yeah, and that's where, like, I'm very early on in my childhood. I remember walking to school specifically in like 6th grade, thinking like, this can't be my own dreams. Like, why would I put myself through torture? And why would I be seeing battlefields? Why would I be intruding into like these people's lives and stuff? That's not what I want to do. You know what I mean? And like, because I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, what I knew was my dream, because I still love playing video games, and that's pretty much one of my jobs now, right? And I would recreate the video games in my dreams and play them. And so that is what I would want to do at night, is play like Super Mario Brothers in vivid 3D reality. You know what I mean? Not be drug off to like some desert place that I didn't know where it was at first. You know what I mean? And yeah, so there was a lot of intense experiences, and like I said, they weren't fun. And even at one point, you can kind of say it's almost like they try to trick you. You know what I mean? Knowing that I do that with my dreams, right? I remember having a character kind of come into a dream and say, "Hey, would you want to play some even more interesting games?" I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I mean, well, we'll check this out. And it was like, these space games at first, stuff like that. But then I realized it was tying into that base stuff again. And which had I did a lot of different things under that state of being, shall we say.
That almost reminds me of like Inception, where somebody entered you in the dream state and said, "Hey, do you want to play this?" Or having, so are you saying that some things like that happened, that maybe there was another person that met you in that space and was communicating with you?
And this is one of the things that, like, honestly, I'm kind of surprised, like, because I've told my story pretty in depth before, and people just don't grab onto it. I think some has to do with the programming that makes people, but like how, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of what is possible in terms of even linking consciousness, and this is something you don't have to be a part of any program to do. You can learn how to meet each other in dreams and other things like this. It's honestly not as hard as people think. The hardest part is getting the just inducing the dream, because you don't have to be conscious during it a lot of times. But now there is very advanced, kind of in a sense, battlefields that go on in that state too. And so the Inception tries to bridge it, but it really doesn't broach like the real stuff at all. So yes, there you can communicate, you can have shared dreams and visions. And one good example of me that I would give is a movie called Speed of Thought. Okay, with oh my god, I forget his name right now. Nick Stahl, I think it is. And this is an NSA recruiting video. Okay, at the time I had a connection to an ex-NSA guy, and they got me a copy of this movie when it was premiering here in Newport in Orange County, and they like, "Here's a digital copy. You should check this out." And I'm like, "All right." And it wasn't even entirely finished yet. Like, I saw the full finished movie later, effects a little better, stuff like this. But it actually lays out a pretty good example of what it can kind of look like, in terms of connecting consciousness, communicating telepathically in that manner, and a bit of what they're trying to do. So like everything in that movie, like they're saying, is it possible to get into someone's head to make them do something? No, that's what my program was about making people do things they didn't want to or didn't know that they were doing. And it also bridged into like even some people's personal lives. And then this is also where like almost where it did seem like a game, where it was like getting into these different, like you can call them assets, or just kind of like, things on the military units or squads and things like this. And it was about kind of like coordinating them and kind of staying in contact even with even different beings sometimes, because that was where for the longest time, like the little grays, like I didn't realize we were talking about the same little beings that I've been seeing. I'm like, wait a minute, those are the things that people are talking about? No way.
Wow.
As well as a lot of these other things. Yeah, like I had no because it was just like whatever to me, and I didn't go looking into it as a hobby, because I was just so accustomed to, in a sense, this type of abuse that I'm just like, okay, now I just gotta try to go to school. I mean, this whatever it was. And it wasn't until much Good.
Do you feel I'm sorry, I interrupted you, and I feel like I interrupted a thought. Okay. Do you feel that you maybe were picked out through the school, or was the school involved with this in any of your education?
I do think the school definitely was involved in a sense that, like, okay, because for instance, okay, I'm 47, right? I was born in 78. And
in 70?
78, yeah.
78, okay.
Yeah, 78. And so in second grade, I remember that they thumbprinted all of us. You know what I mean? They did all this stuff, and I remember just telling this story, and people say, really? Like, in that, what year would that have been? That would have had to have been like, was it 83 or something like that? And they're like, wow, in 83 they did that too. I'm like, yeah. And there's things like this that were kind of peculiar, right? Like but I also think that my family is also probably tracked before this, just because I came to find out later one of my uncles who recently passed, like, and some of my relatives on my other relatives on my grandfather's side had some dealings with stuff that would have been like classified. You know what I mean? So we would have already had to have been on their radar to some degree.
Uh-huh.
And then two, like that remote viewer who I was working with pretty much said like someone saw you since you were young because of what you could do. Like they can tell. And I also seen that heard from other sources too about like how, as we know, there's a lot of frequencies like in the air. There's a lot of that's being monitored, and we as individuals, as human beings with our circulatory system, give off very succinct electromagnetic fields, and in certain phases that this pops up on certain types of radar. And so this is why apparently sometimes when people say they're just meditating and helicopters will fly over, because some of that can look like UFO signatures or some stuff like this too, apparently. And so this is where I think that as humans, once we like say project, there's probably something that sees it. You know what I mean? They can tell.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and just FYI for your audience who might not know me, I actually do have a patent in nano-configured materials that augment electromagnetic fields to confer specific attributes to its target. So I do know a little bit about frequencies beyond just what people talk about. I understand how to use a radio sweeper. I know how to understand how to look for standing waves in the environment for different reasons. So when I say that, I mean it from a very pragmatic, practical, scientific point of view that something can track that. Okay. So and when I talk to, I try to be very practical in that sense. And like I say, if it's right, both spirituality and science should say the same thing. And so we find a lot of that, some of these things to be true over time.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Spirituality and science should say the same thing. Why? How would that be? Because
okay, for instance,
yeah.
Because for instance, you know how people talk about having a positive vibe. Most major religions tell you to be in gratitude. Like these things like that, like actually do matter to the human body. It does matter to the environment. And then, like we see, there's a lot of different research that has shown that to be the case. So it's be it for, especially for yourself. I mean, the whole discipline of epigenetics definitely proves that, to where, if where your mind goes, your body is going, right? And that's one of the things that comes out of also law of philosophy from Buddhism, from Hinduism, same thing, right? So we see a lot of these congruencies on some of these things, but like once again, like no one really knows everything in terms of the answers to a lot of these metaphysical questions, So.
So what should somebody do? I mean, because we live in our world feels very toxic right now. And life is difficult. Sometimes, some of us here on YouTube experience toxicity coming towards us. And I'm sure social media. I mean, we're both. I know we know each other on Facebook. How does somebody shift themselves? Are there techniques to shift yourself into a more positive frequency that you know of or that you do?
I mean, yeah, once again, a lot of people say similar stuff, is that whole concept of being grateful. I mean, and present. Because a lot of times the toxicity, worry comes from the past or the future, right? We're thinking about something that happened or worried about something that's going to happen, as opposed to just being like, hey, I'm here now. I feel fine. I'm breathing. Start there. And it sounds simpler said than done sometimes too, but that's also very handy with anxiety. I mean, and that's something that like I've dealt with because of my experiences too, and I've gotten much better at dealing with that. But like, because for a long time, I always kind of wondered where did this anxiety come from? You know what I mean? And it was from a lot of these traumas that were basically buried or just not addressed yet. And when something, say, would come up, and I'll give you an example, even like a current example. Like I finally saw that movie Tenet, which and there was a line in there that they said at the end where it's like no one cares about the bombs that don't explode, and I've said that exact same thing because there's certain stuff and certain things that I was involved with, especially over at the base, that I think most of us would agree that we were probably happy that it happened, even though it wasn't nice. I mean, and this is kind of where like I generally don't talk too much about these things, but yeah, there's been some amazing, in a sense, scenes of heroism, like just these heroic acts from people we will never know, and they're dead now, but we're all here still because of them. I mean, I've seen a lot of that too, um, and that stuff kind of still hits me. It's like these people who are gone and no glory. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I'm grateful. I'm like, dude, I'm here still. Those guys are gone. You know what I mean? So, and that's one of the things that's not to minimize anyone's struggle ever, but there is usually someone worse off than you. This is true. You know what I mean? And and you know, if you have to put yourself in that perspective, you can, but at the same time, like, why even do that? Look at your resources. That's one of the things that for myself, just in general as a person, I'm pretty resourceful. So it's like if there's an issue, I'm going to look for ways to overcome it. Right? And that's another piece of advice I would say too. Try to look at ways to overcome even that unsettling within yourself. And it's okay sometimes to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get some chocolate. You know what I mean? Or whatever that is to kind of help, because yes, and even something like that, like specifically chocolate, actually does change your body chemistry when you ingest it. It does induce happy feelings. And that's something that you can use to actually even fight off things like suppression from like let's say like ghosts or just other type of metaphysical entities, because if they'll attack things like that, and yes, your body chemistry will change because your mood has now changed. But if you do have something that you know can induce a chemical positive response like chocolate, oh yeah, it's great. And that's kind of one of the things I thought was kind of fun and a little bit ironic in a sense, in like Harry Potter. I don't know if you remember the Dementors, when they would like suck the life of people, and then they'd feel all depressed, and they're like, here, have some candy, and then they'd feel better. It's like, yeah, that is actually like you can kind of call it a ghost busting tip there.
Well, I know, like, there, the movie The Devil's Advocate, and there's this, Keanu Reeves' character says, "What about love?" And he goes, "Love, it's overrated. It's like chocolate. It's an endorphin thing that is like, basically, according to the devil, it doesn't really exist." But so, can you talk a little bit about remote viewing and how does that work, and how did you learn it, and how do you know that you have the ability to do something like that?
Well, I mean, number one, I would say like everyone has the ability. It's just kind of like running, right? So everyone can trot no matter what the pace is, but not everyone's going to be an Olympic runner, right? So it's very similar to that. And now, I had heard about the quote unquote remote viewing technique. Once I was looking into more of like, hey, what does the government do in relation to some of these things, right? And then of course we found the Project Stargate. And yeah, I wanted to find out what was up with that, and I started reading the books from a lot of the originals, like Joseph McMonagle and such, and so I was a book learned of the technique already, but when I met an ex-viewer at one presentation down here, where I'm at in Southern California, and we ended up working together, and yeah, the technique is pretty much the same for the most part. What it is a way for anyone to gather intuitive information or constants. And the military developed it this way so they could just take any person who was in the military and say, this is your code, write down things on this paper, and then they would get viable information. And the technique is actually very simple. Okay, it's simple in theory, right? Okay, in practice, that's the practice part, but I'll break it down real quick right now for everyone. So on a sheet of paper, you would have an alphanumeric code representing your target. Okay, up on top. Okay, on one side, on the right side, you're going to write down everything you're thinking. Okay, so in other words, if I'm sitting in a cold room, I'm like, I'm cold. I'm going to write, I'm cold on the right side. But then, like, all of a sudden, lima bean comes into my mind for some reason. I'm going to write lima bean on the other side of the paper. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to have my pen or pencil just kind of moving itself, not automatic writing, but just kind of let your hand do whatever you want there a little bit, right? Just keep that going and just write down random stuff, my thoughts, random stuff, my thoughts while doing that. And you'll see, like, you keep doing that enough, it will correlate with your target. Like, and the whole concept with remote viewing is that you're double blind to the target, and like if it's an actual remote viewing, protocol. Okay? So this is kind of where you won't have any idea what it is, and then you'll be able to get it, verified or confirmed, through an audit process in that regard. And so this is why, like, you do see some remote viewers, like they're viewing stuff they can't confirm, but they're so confident because they've done so many of those verified ones that they're like, well, if I'm getting this for a reason, you know what I mean? Which is intriguing, because you can get some wild results back from some stuff. Yes. So.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
We talked about like the kind of the inception thing, or how you can meet somebody in the astral plane, or you can go and, maybe influence somebody that's a target, put an idea in their mind, maybe is, let's say, there's a target, right? There's a person, and you go to somebody who is near them, or is near them, to put an idea in somebody's mind to like abuse that person or do something to that person. Is that done too?
Oh yeah. I mean, and it gets way more insidious. I mean, like, you can pretty much think of it as straight up possession. And it is one of the things that isn't talked about much, and people are afraid to bring up. But ironically enough, that's what got people to approach me the most, because they're like, how do you know about that? Well, because didn't you just hear me say it, Edwards Air Force Base? Like, oh, that's how I know. And like, and yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not in the Air Force. I never joined. They kept knocking on my door to recruit me though in the military till I was like 25. Right? Just kept coming to my door, and I'm just like, no, dude. And at one point, they call me up, and I'm pretty sure they're about ready to let me into like the secret gay military or something like that, because they're like, if you're gay, that's not a problem. I'm like, why would that? Oh, like, no, dude, like no, man, like, let's. But yeah, it was strange, and I remember telling people later about that, especially those who were experiencers, and especially those who were, say, in the military, were in some of these things, and we're like, damn, that's late. They usually don't send military people to your door that late. I'm like, yeah, it was so weird.
We have Boda Gavarati 344 says, source, he went out at 3 years old and he's legitimate. Happy holidays. Hello, Puppy Mafia. It's good to see you here. And then we have Lord of Darkness 3301 is here, but that's Daniel Dowd. So it's, that's very fascinating about what you can do with remote viewing. Obviously, I'm interested in this particular topic. You know that I'm into what you can do psychically, and in terms of remote viewing, and also I always go to like The Men Who Stare at Goats, that movie, which is based on a true story, and I'm fascinated by what somebody can do, or what the military is interested in, how they might recruit somebody from childhood. And by the way, where's Ed Force Base again? Is that the one that's in California? I performed there. Yeah. I've performed there before. Yeah, nice. That's why I'm pretty sure it was Edwards Air Force Base. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was so tied into ufology lore till later, and that was one of the things when I first started talking about. That's apparently why a lot of people are like, you should shut up and do something, because they're like, in a sense, they were already coming after me by the time like I started speaking out. That's why I spoke out. Like I wasn't gonna say anything in life. Like how it goes. It's like you talk too much about certain stuff, people just call you crazy. and and in that program, I saw that they wouldn't mind getting you institutionalized because now they have 100% access to you, right? So, so I
Right.
was pretty much kept my mouth closed about things until I guess I would have been probably like mid-20s, something like that, maybe again towards mid-20s, um, and yeah, that's kind of when the only reason why it was self-preservation that I started talking initially, and then at one point it turned to activism, and then now I call it humanitarian, just because it's like my wife and I started a nonprofit that specifically addresses like you could talk to us about paranormal trauma. We're not going to laugh at you. We're not going to turn you into the authorities. We know you might not have anyone in your family or friends you could talk to. So who can you do that? And who isn't going to ask money for you to do that? So that was another thing that we saw, that like, you can make money in some of this stuff, but it's like, you have to hustle. Like even in the most sincere ones, and usually the ones who do make money aren't that sincere. That's why they're making money. And we found ourselves doing a lot of work, just because like you could help them. You know what I mean? It's like if I'm a nurse and someone's bleeding in front of me, I'm going to stop that bleeding. It's kind of similar. I have this ability. If I can deal with those entities and it's really messing these people's life up, I can do it. I will. And I'm not going to be like, well, give me the money first. You know what I mean? Unless it's like, the Hilton or something, then maybe. You know what I mean? But if it's a person, it's like you can't, like, and if whatever they feel happy with, I mean, is I'm cool with as well. Because I do, shamanically, I understand the exchange is important, but it doesn't always have to be, dope.
When you are, let's say, and I'm thinking because of the aspect of extraterrestrial or other beings that are maybe not in this particular frequency, if you will, if you want to say it that way, or dimension, or however. To my understanding, that the communication is telepathic with these types of beings. It's not like they're going to be speaking to you verbally in English. Is that correct?
So
now, is it images that they show you, or how do you get that communication for you?
It really depends on the whoever you're talking to. Like how I've had different ways where it's almost like you're remembering something someone said more than you heard it. Sometimes it is like, it is a voice, like you can hear a representation of a voice kind of almost being projected to you. And then sometimes, it's like almost like a picture show. It could be like projected. Right. Some examples, not everyone, but there's some examples of how I've received that information. And I can, and especially like, I can kind of tell that it's almost like sometimes where we have like a subconscious like translation ability on some level. Because like, and I'll give you an example, right? Like there's this really vivid experience I had, and I wasn't asleep either, right? I used to get horrible, debilitating migraines. Like I was just bad, right? I was having one of these things, and I couldn't lay down because the pressure would make my head feel whatever. So I was sitting on like a computer chair, just with my eyes closed. I was not asleep, right? Because even at that point, even if I fell asleep, I could still feel the pain in the dream world, right? And so I'm sitting there, and I close my eyes, and it was all of a sudden I'm somewhere else, and there's this big head, like a big energetic semi-translucent head looking down at my chest. It's probably, the head itself was probably a good 7 feet or so, right? Like, right?
Wow.
Yeah, huge.
That would have freaked me out. I would have been like, no, get out of here.
I'm like, because I was just in my chair back at my house, right? I'm looking at it, looking down at me, and I can hear them talking, right? But it was like I can hear almost like these translated voices into English, like, and it was like an instructor behind me. I couldn't see them, right? Because I'm facing this way, but they're like, that's okay. Now snap to the lines is what it tells this entity in front of me. And I'm kind of looking at it and looking down, and then it kind of looks up a little bit to see that I'm looking at it. And then I see this like fear go in its eyes, and it almost it looks to the entity behind me, and the entity behind me says, it's okay, just snap to the lines. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to go back now. Do a good job. Just snap to the lines, okay? And so I kind of, because I was looking around, and so I just went like this, and then it was like a flash. I was back in my room, and the headache was gone.
Wow.
Yeah, amongst one of I've had some just like movie like episodes before, but that was still one of the weirdest ones. Because it was just like me going, "Oh my god, my head hurts!" Like, "Whoa, what the?" You know what I mean? So pretty crazy. And but by that point in my life, because like I said, that would have probably been like once again probably around mid-20s, late 20s. So I was pretty used to weird stuff. Like it's like if something moves across the room, a lot of people like jump. I kind of go, You know what I mean? I don't really startle that easy,
Sometimes I get glimpses of things out of my peripheral vision. Sometimes I know that might sound weird. Don't talk about you being like that, but I do sometimes catch something. I'm like, what was that?
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's not exactly in this frequency. Like it's bleeding it through a little bit. Yeah.
Because our consciousness does like filter things out, absolutely. So yeah, that you could very well sometimes be seeing, like, because we all have helpers. I mean, whether we realize it, like it or not, you generally have a type of spiritual team that's around you to help. I mean, they're not judging, they're not doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, sometimes that helps. And then plus, like how I've had people with healthy skeptical minds say like, well, if ghosts are real, they should be everywhere. I'm like, yes, dude, they are. Like, just get a radio sweeper out, put it down, and say, "Hey, is there anyone else here?" Something is probably going to talk back to you, like not just like weird noises. Like it'll specifically say your damn name. You know what I mean? It's amazing how easy that stuff happens.
I've heard this comparison of like let's say one type of insect or a snail or something like that. Their vision, the flash, I don't know how they see things. Is so fast and whatever. And then there's another being that will be faster than that one. And so the one has the faster ability is seeing things that the snail is not seeing, or if it does see it, sees much later. Like there can be these gaps just because of what our actual window of vision is, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then including beyond like our visible spectrum, there is stuff that exists too. I mean, like heat exists beyond our visible spectrum too. You know what I mean? And and that still can touch us, right? So yeah, and I think these concepts are becoming more normal for people in general to grasp. And I think this is why we're seeing more of an acceptance of some of these subjects of paranormal and ufology and things like this, because I think the time of letting other people tell us what we saw is coming to an end. You know what I mean? That's one thing I love. Like, when people try to tell me, "Oh, well, you saw this." Well, you weren't there, dude. Like, you can't tell me that. Like, you know what I mean? So, and just like how I mentioned with the radio sweeper, so like something that goes FM radio just from the spectrum back and forth as fast as it can. There shouldn't necessarily be a coherent anything over that, but there is, and this is one of the things that you could test on your own. Same thing. Ufology is a little bit more difficult, but still, like if you have the access to the 3rd gen night vision, just look up. You are going to see stuff that shouldn't be there. And I've seen, I've assisted, non-assisted. I've already seen a bunch of things in the sky, and I've seen with the night vision. I mean, it was remarkable. I mean, it was in the middle of Sacramento, one of these things, and I saw craft that you would think you only exist in movies, and they were just hovering right over the city. And it was with multiple, goggles, you know what I mean, from different owners. So like this wasn't coordinated to like, oh, let's all project some crap and no, it wasn't that, right? But the simple fact it comes down to, most people don't want to put in the legwork to find the truth, or at least find more of the truth, because it's not pretty, or it doesn't fit into their mold of reality, or it takes some work. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's there. You know what I mean? That is honestly what frustrates me with a lot of people in ufology and metaphysics, because they're just not doing the work. And then they some of them pontificate like they're like the new archbishop here of an unknown religion, and it's like, dude, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially
and I wanted in this super soldier stuff, right?
Yeah, I want to transition into that. And before we do, I played it a little bit earlier. I want to play it again for those that are here, maybe later. But I don't know if you guys knew this. Jerry knew it. I knew for a long time, but James Reek, who has passed away and has been a part of this Super Soldier Talk, Super Soldier phenomenon that has taken place on the internet. And I found on Instagram, he had these dance videos. And I did take it to a song that I made on Astro Records because I didn't want to pay for the rights to the music that he was using. But I want to play this really quick. We're going to be right back. And and you know what else too, Jerry? And I know I showed this, I played this at the beginning, but sometimes people miss the beginning. I kind of like, anyway. But I also pulled up James Casbolt doing rap because, you know, he's coming back as a rap artist. So let me share this for a second, just for fun. All right. So here's James Casbolt. Here we go. Everybody's so multi-talented.
The wolf at night, the black, the hawk. Enemies balk when the tiger walks. Whoever takes sides when the lines are drawn. Souls take flight when the air is born. All terrain, the master show. Spear by my side when I'm in the hall. Setting my sights on the longest haul. Soldiers line up for the devil's ball. Find out the price, get vexed, and then your wifey's up at the TV, wanting JC. Cream in her panties, and when you're diggering in bed, she's picturing me. I'll tell you this about getting jacked, or breaking your house or dressed in black. Then I pull out my gap, strip you naked, take your possessions, then it's getting jacked. I shot myself in the legs, I'm fucking crazy like that. The wolf at night, the black, the hawk. Enemies balk when the tiger walks. Whoever takes sides when the lines are drawn. Souls take flight when the air is born. All terrain, the master shore. Spear by my side when I'm in the hall. Setting my sights on the longest haul. Souls line up.
Okay, so I'm not gonna play the whole video, but I just thought that was kind of interesting, right?
I heard something about Casbolt rapping. I mean, hey, you know, both him and Ray encouraged to do it. You know what I mean? But like how I was saying, some people can trot and some people are Olympic runners. So at least they're trying.
Oh, thank you so much for the $3 super sticker. Bodegate. God, I know who you are, and it's hard for me to say this name, but thank you so much. Bodega Verati. Oh my God, $9.99. Thank you, Puffy Mafia, for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Puppy Mafia and Bodega Verati. They're okay. 3488. They've been around this particular topic for a long time, and both of them have been regulars on Not My Route. When I was Puppy Mafia, I remember from being on Not My Rabbit Hole, but Bodega has been with me since Freedom of Joyce. When I was covering a lot of things. Okay, so I showed a little bit of James Rink, and I showed a little bit of James Casbolt. What is your take on these particular personalities and influencers in this particular media and information? And so let's start with James Rink first. What are your thoughts on do you know James Rink, or have you been privy to work? Yeah. Okay. And again, I know he's passed away, so I don't want to be, but I still want to be really honest about your feelings.
Yeah, no, I'm not one to sugarcoat things just because someone's dead. And anything I say about someone when they're dead, I'd be happy to have said it to their face if I didn't already, right? And now with James, okay, I think the fact that he changed his name so many times should probably tell you how sincere this guy was, quote unquote, right? And when I've grilled him before when he first started talking about stuff, right? And now I don't know what he experienced entirely or anything, but it seems like there was some interesting things that might have happened to him. But now as time went on, his elaborations were complete crap, complete total crap, and everything that he would talk about in terms of techniques on how to be a better psychic. Have you noticed none of his students have ever said oh, I can do this now? My students will. And there's a difference. Okay, yeah, and so that's one of the things that to me is kind of funny, and Rink definitely did that. And then when he went full overboard to me was when he took the whole bait, line, and sinker of Trump the time traveling savior, and he went over there in J6 and everything.
And he did that. He went into the Trump time traveling thing.
Yeah, he did, and he also
I didn't know that.
He also went. He was there he didn't go to into the White House, but he was there outside. He did some podcasts from that. So he was definitely one to stop the steal people and all this other stuff. No, because he was honestly he wasn't very bright. He was, and there's this video. It's even funnier than the dancing video. At least the dancing video, he was enjoying himself, right? But I'm trying to find it. One of my colleagues and I are trying to find it, but he was duped so bad by a vlogger into believing this vlogger was a super soldier, quote unquote. Because
it's Loki's weird stories, or weird, how I got into a conspiracy cult. Yeah, I've done discussions on it. I've shown, I've mirrored it a little bit in the commentary. Yeah,
exactly,
and that's unfortunate. And honestly, after watching that documentary, I can't get past it because there is a folklore, like the songs that I had that I started out with, Kevin Spacey, blank, 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 Captain Mark Richards, blah, 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 all that, all these things, Blue Avian, I mean, there's a lot of, but there's definitely a confirmed belief that if you go in and you say those certain things to somebody and you sit there and you give it testimony, you can completely dupe somebody with it, including somebody who claims to be you don't call yourself a super soldier, but this is a phrase that was coined by Carrie Cassidy, basically. And I want to get into Carrie Cassidy because you have a history with her too.
Yes,
but that aspect of it, how do you know who's real and who's not real? I mean, and is there, let me ask you that. How do you know somebody is real and not real? What are the markers of a real person who is working have psychic abilities that the military might want to utilize, or however? And what would you say, when you go, oh no, that's definitely not authentic and that's phony?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I was mentioning earlier, having a little bit too much information tends to be a red flag. Number one, even without even doing any digging. Like I said, like they're saying that they're part of X, Y, and Z. They know their commanding officer, and then their off-world officer is probably, they're probably lying. With some exception, like say like someone like oh my god, I'm forgetting his name right now. But some of these people with verified military records who have kind of came out and said, hey, this is what happened, versus like just some random person who's not in the military now assumes command of the Starfleet Legion, right? Giveaway, like probably full of crap. But then also there's certain things too, because like are they glorifying some of this, right? Because to me, I'm not like, this wasn't fun, this wasn't good, you know what I mean? And like I said, it's taken a lot of time and inner work to be able to speak about a lot of this stuff, let alone, oh, I'm the #1 super psychic soldier who went to Mars for 25 years and da da da. No, dude, like, I mean, and like, do I feel confident? Like, was I one of the best as far as I know? Fuck yeah, I was. But I'm not sitting there like talking about that. You know what I mean? So glorifying trauma. If they're glorifying trauma, they're probably lying. Because it's trauma. It's not good stuff. You know what I mean?
Is there someone who maybe went into the program that said, I want to do this? I'm sure
is, yeah. I'm sure there is, yeah, because it's probably everything. And like the reason, because okay, they didn't want me for anything. They wanted what I could do, right? Because it's pretty obvious to me that the vast majority of not only the ufology crowd, the metaphysics crowd, and especially the military are racist. They want you to be white, to be the person in the face of it. They don't want a Native American brownie mix, okay? But they want our abilities, okay? And that's something that's been established now in history too, right? So they didn't want me in that sense.
Is there something to being Native American or having Native American DNA that makes you have certain abilities?
I think it is, but from the cultural, yeah. Because for instance, okay, my wife is Filipino, right? And she's like, how come you guys don't necessarily like greet each other? And I'm like, with our family, right? I'm all, we do, but it's this, yeah, dude, we kind of are telepathically saying like, yes, I'm okay, great to see you. Like, we've gotten used to this. we use it so much we didn't even know, but like, and we don't put it in that context. But what is that? That's a type of telepathy that we've just got accustomed to doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of little things like that. And in our culture, like, there wasn't a divide in the world. It's like you were like how what I do would be called dream walking. I'm a dream walker. Like, it's a thing that happens, but like how in other society it's not, and most other it's not. And so for us, it's just normal. And so I think that part of it plays more into it than it's just that, say, indigenous are so much more genetically able. It's more that our conscious filters weren't reinforced as much as other cultures, because once again, every human has the same ability. So that's part of that racist thing that where they say, oh, the Nordic red-haired people are the most magical people. It's like, no, dude, you're just being racist. Like, you're just being racist.
Well, a lot of the things in what's discussed in the super soldier talk, the myth or the folklore, is about their DNA. Like there's, oh, I'm Merovingian, or I'm Irish, I'm Native American. I've got these, like, because Duncan O'Finian was that way. Like, he had Irish and Native American DNA as well.
That's the most powerful kind of configuration. Yeah, and dude, and okay, I know about O'Finian too, and like, yeah, Duncan, you know where I'm at, buddy. Because he knows he was part of this disinformation stuff too. He knows it. And if he tries to, oh no, dude, you lying mofo. Okay. Because some of these, there's very concerted disinformation projects where these people get together, they try to get the stories that might even be true, but they try to conglomerate it all into one story, and so they can tell it. And that's Duncan O'Finian, that's David Corso, and that's one other person that we know of. And right now we have somewhat of a truce, and he's honored it, so I'm not going to throw him too much under the bus right now.
Okay, we have a question. Mm-hmm. We have a question. Does Jerry know how to stop someone entering your dreams?
Yeah. There's no like band-aid kind of solution to this, but there are definitely things that you can do. Because for one thing I would suggest is, like, when you're getting ready to go to sleep, whether you're conscious or projecting or not, Now think of, and in your mind, create your sanctuary and go to your sanctuary first in your dream realm. Okay. And like how I was mentioning to earlier, how everyone has helpers that were waiting there for you. Ask them to also help. Okay. And your helpers will never tell you what to do. And they're only there to help. Right. And I usually suggest, if you can, if you have like, say, a relative who's passed, they're generally probably one of the people who are trying to help you. Work with them first, because they're one of the closest familiar connections to you. And generally will probably have your better interest at heart just inherently. And so go to your inner sanctuary first, have your team present, and then see what happens from there. Because and also in terms of an intrusion, the question comes down to like, what are they looking for? And is what they're looking for, like, is the simple act of hiding it is what's attracting them? Because ultimately, psychically, you can kind of get anything, right? You can get any information. So just the simple act of hiding it might be the target, because it's keeping you in like an anxious state. So if even self-acceptance of like, all right, fine, know it. You know what I mean? I don't care. Like, you might see that these things will change, or those go away, because they have no way to agitate you. Because a lot of times when something's trying to intrude, it's trying to disrupt you in some way. And so it might not be necessary to kill you or to even plant something in your head. It's just trying to agitate you so you make bad decisions. So so kind of, what is it after? You know, that's going to tell you another, give you clues to how to maybe unwind it and something like that. But I mean, feel free to message me. I mean, like I said, I do work with anyone, regardless if you can pay or not. Like I said, it's something that like I said, I know I can help with, and so I do. There's only so many people who can do it on the planet. Right?
Where can somebody message you at?
You can find me on Facebook, or also you can find me on actually jerry@jerryavalos.com, or my email is jerry@jerryavalos.com, or go to jerryavalos.com. You can find my various projects there too. But
she says, my flame mate doesn't want me dreaming of other men. Well, of course not.
Well, that could come down to discipline then.
All right, so let's talk about Carrie Cassidy. How did you get into her stratosphere?
Well, that's kind of an interesting tangent too, even with Rink, right? So because okay, now of course I'd seen Project Camelot, years back, and was just checked out the material. I'm like, all right. And then one of the Awaken Awares happened down here in Orange County in Irvine in 2011, and they're looking for volunteers. I'm like, all right, hell yeah, I'm down to do that. Because I'm sure I'll be listening to stuff. I kind of wanted to sit there anyways. I mean, in terms of like paying for a ticket, so I figured I was volunteer and do some stuff. So I helped run like the sound equipment, because at the time I was in a band, and I had a lot of sound equipment anyway, so I used some of my speakers and amps and stuff. So I was there at the soundboard for that a lot of times, and I met her there, and met some, Tommy, her webmaster at the time, there too. We've since became friends, and also that was when I ran into James Rink, like in person for the first time, and Max Spears actually. And this is where this is the origins of where things got weird with Max. Okay. And this is why I talk so much crap on Max. So I'm pretty sure he was part of the next generation of that same concerted disinformation stuff, because the person I met in 2011 was not the same Max that we saw on your stream or whatever it is later. Literally a different person. Yeah. And I actually asked Rink about that at the Super Soldier Summit in 2013. I'm like, so that's Max, huh? He's like, yeah. I'm like, how come he looks different? He's like, yeah, I know. And he kind of didn't want, and I think people started coming over, so we didn't elaborate into it. But at that point, he said, like how even Rink was saying, like he didn't hang out with them anymore. And we just never got a chance to relay why that was. But like I said, it was literally a different freaking person. Like the guy was not that same guy. And
really?
I'm also a trained artist, so I know how to draw people, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd have to literally draw them different. Like how the guy I met in 2011, had more of a sharp nose. He had a sharper nose and even a little more paler complexion and slightly more rounder face. Like it was like there's no plastic surgery that could have done that either. You know what I'm saying? It was literally just a different person. And so when I saw this other Max and I seen all this other shit that he was saying, I'm like, dude, this guy. And I did have some conversations with Max too, of course, before he died. But,
I find that interesting that he looked different, and that you're saying he wasn't like the same person.
Not the same person. Nope. Like, and but kind of getting back on Carrie.
Okay.
So I met Carrie there, and then hit it off with her and Tommy at the time, and we stayed in contact. And long story short, I ended up eventually like helping out a little bit with some different stuff there at Project Camelot, which tended to be, you know, an extra hand with the filming, or just kind of with logistics during some of the interviews, as well as a type of like kind of security kind of consulting on some level for some stuff. And then that, I mean, during that time, that was pretty interesting. I mean, there was no problems really that normal businesses don't go through at that time. You know what I mean? It changed later. I mean, and now, no, I'm not associated with her, because like once you start promoting like the fascist coup that's going on with you know, protecting pedophiles in the presidency and stuff, like I can't, nah, dude, we're not friends anymore. Like I just you know, and then because like how I was saying earlier, like I wasn't just beating my own chest, like I have a patent on this type of material that almost got me killed. And so like I can't have people who are naive and honestly stupid around me like that, because it could be deadly. And I have survived attacks, like not figuratively, like there was literally an explosion in my workspace. I got the use of my right arm back after it was completely disabled for a while. So yeah, no, it's some serious stuff. And yeah, there's definitely truth to suppression. Absolutely. There's things that just do not want good things to happen to people. And it doesn't matter how strong you are in a sense either. It's like there's enough of them. They have enough resources, they'll get you. You know?
Okay, I'm still stuck on the whole thing about Max not looking the same. I'm sorry, my brain keeps going like, has anybody else said that you know, commented the same way, like noticed it, or you know?
I don't think so, because I think it was really maybe only people who would have known about Max prior to like him doing interviews would have encountered that, and also prior to him and Rink like parting ways, which would have had to have been, I want to say, sometime around maybe 2012 or something like that. So they would have had to have known Max, the quote unquote Max, before 2012. You know what I mean? To have been able to see this difference. But the person that I saw at Awake and Aware was legit. Like, you know, because I'm sure even some of your audience can kind of tell. You know what I mean? Like, just like your regular said there, yo, he's legitimate, because like at one point you can kind of get the feeling off of someone, like, have you been through trauma, or like what have you seen, like, because how they carry themselves, how their eyes are scanning. This man's eyes were scanning like someone who wants to be aware of everything around him. I mean, he wants to know that like I'm safe even though I don't feel safe. The Max later did not have that. He was kind of like kind of a little puppy. You know what I mean? Like, I was not, and I don't care how much therapy you went through. I mean, I've healed a lot of stuff, like, and I can be pretty happy-go-lucky, but it's like short-lived, you know. It's like in little bursts. But yeah, like I said, that dude had a deep trauma. Like he was even more kind of paranoid than I was. You know what I mean? And versus this other guy, which did not look the same, did not act the same, did not talk the same. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, like I was kind of expecting, you know, James to kind of say, I didn't know what I was expecting him to say, honestly. But the fact that he's kind of like, yeah, like, but not like wanting to say anything, like kind of made me kind of intrigued. I'm kind of like, why would this guy like spills the beans about everything? Like, why would he not want to say anything here? Right. So yeah, but that always stuck with me. And so then as time went on, and then I see what happened, it's like, oh my God. Oh, but yeah, because so that's one of the things, like, where you have this dude, this now other Max, so to speak, who goes on interviews and confesses to murders. Essentially, he's talking about murdering people, right? While being kind of like, and then tries to tell us all to be in love and light, regurgitating all like the normal new age crap. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow, and everyone wants to flock to see this guy versus like people with way more legitimate stories. Like there was people at that same Super Soldier Summit who had way more tangible, credible evidence than any of these.
Are you talking about the Super Soldier Summit that happened in Henderson, Nevada? That one?
2013.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
About the I don't remember him saying that he killed people, but I mean maybe I missed that part.
Yeah, go watch Kerry's interview from that summit.
I guess I'll have to watch it again. I'll have to watch that again.
Everyone's just looking at these guys going, oh, look how cute they are. They're not listening to what they're saying. They're talking about murder. They're and at best it seems like Max to me may have been a mercenary, but I've known soldiers for hire, dude. They don't act like that, dude. This guy seemed like the people that were come together, get real stories, put them together to make up one big story and try to get a book deal with Gaia or some shit. I mean, so like
it's interesting, but Bodega Gavarati says we keep telling Max to stop cloning himself. Do you think? I mean, what?
No way. No. Like this clone is, like I said, like a lot of stuff that people think that they are doing to us, dude. They are not going to reveal that to you or me or no one. So are they going to reveal clones to us? Hell no. Are they going to reveal robots that look real? No, they're not. And you're not going to know either. And I can guarantee you that dude wasn't a clone, because like I said, I am very confident about certain parts of my abilities. And when you hear me say I'll bet money on it, like like I mean it, and I'll bet money that Max Spears and that whatever the Max Spears was probably the next disinformation campaign that was being concerted by these same people. And no, he's nothing special. And you know what? Stephen Kelly is a better fucking psychic than goddamn Max Spears ever. Okay, and you know how I feel about Stephen. Yo, I'm being serious. I'm serious, people. And like I said, yes. So if you believe Max, then you better think that Stephen Kelly's okay too. Because if not, you don't even know what the psychic is. Then.
I will say, Stephen Kelly is psychic. That is true. That is
so bad though. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Like he's not good. And like I said, and to me, I don't care. It's like, yeah, let's have a guessing game then, dude. Let's find out. You know what I mean? Because I'm not full of shit. Like, yeah, I know. And it's something that you can do at will on purpose, and you can train. And I have trained that, like beyond just like thinking. You know what I mean? Like the remote viewing that we're talking about, I have hundreds of sheets of remote viewing practice, right? So you get to know the inside of your brain pretty well that way. And when it comes to those guys, yeah, dude, they're like, no, like Max is full of shit. And so and see, Casbolt definitely has some ties to some esoteric groups. And now I know this because we crossed paths on that level too. Like they sent me a warning, like from Casbolt, and I'm like, all right, Casbolt, so what's this warning, dude? I'm in your face now, 2013. Do you want to warn me about anything else, dude? Huh? While I'm here in front of you? So I'm not a racist like your group? What? You want to know? You don't? Oh, you're gonna walk away, Super Soldier? All right, walk away, Super Soldier. That's exactly what he did. So. And there's people, Tommy from Camelot can verify that one. And like I said, I'm not just trying to act big here, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, dude, like some people, like those people that he is talking to are racist pieces of crap. Elitist pieces of crap.
Isn't there I think that there's a certain level of racism in the folklore. If you're talking about something coming from Project Paperclip, if you're, MK Ultra, Project whatever, Artichoke, but if you're gonna, the genesis is Nazi, right? In a way, is that okay?
Well, yeah, and some of the group he was working with was a Templar group, a specific type of Templar. Not all of them are like this, but this specific Templar group was elitist, racist pieces of crap. So, and yeah, he consciously aligned with them because he wanted to be a racist, elitist piece of crap too. You know what I mean? So that's just his choice. He can, but
it even seems, even in the UFO world, it seems kind of a little bit white in a way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't. Right? Like, where are the black aliens?
That's why I don't speak anymore.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've always
and
wondered, like, is there any Jewish aliens, or are they connected, or I just, even Mexican, right? I mean, and I don't want to go with the word extraterrestrial, would be better to do that reference than no. So, but it just seems like I wanted to do it. I was thinking about doing a research or a deep dive or an analysis into that topic, the racism in UFOlogy that exists, because I think that's kind of an interesting topic. So, who do you think, out of like in the group that we see on YouTube, is there anybody that you think is legitimate, or that is, or is it all entertainment and show business and donations?
Not all. I mean, because like how I mentioned like Duncan O'Finian, David Corso, like they genuinely have done stuff, like, and so like there's some stuff that you can verify about them. Okay, like, because Duncan O'Finian as a mercenary carries himself different than like this quote unquote Max did. Okay, because with O'Finian you can trace his soldier for hire stuff. Okay, David Corso was literally one of the most deadly Marine snipers, right? He has a record there, and so there's these people who have experienced these different programs for sure. But how you see even them like will try to embellish. You know what I mean? So it muddies the waters. It really does. And like, there was another disinformation campaign that seemed like it was started from Gordon Novell. They wanted to have this one puppet dude try to pretend like he was an inventor of reverse Russian engineered crap, and he was lying his ass off. He was just using a radionics machine and just fabricated this story. So him and he's trying to drum up funding for Gordon and whatever he was doing. But then when Gordon died, his whole thing like fell apart. I mean, so it goes to show. And Gordon Novell, you can verify he was part of the alphabet agencies, whatever. But then it's like that's what the alphabet agencies do. They lie. So they come up with more lies and they get people alive for them, and that's what you see. You know what I mean? And so I don't care, like, whoever doesn't believe me here, if I'm psychic, I don't give a fuck. Like I said, don't make me Freddy Krueger in my dream, motherfucker. But
don't say that.
But yeah,
that's I mean, I don't know, like that's bodega. I don't know.
Anyway, I was having fun because, like I said, I never talk to like convince people, like, because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm just.
Well, it's hard to verify it. When it comes to psychic abilities and things that we're talking about, and when you're talking about paranormal and supernatural, and it's hard. It's hard to verify it. I mean, there are people that are skeptics that don't believe in psychic ability. They don't believe anything beyond the 3D. They don't even believe that there's a God. They don't believe in any spiritual aspect of our existence. So there's a whole playing field of like what people believe in it. And it's possible for somebody to manipulate the narrative. I think it's possible that some of these guys that really have these abilities, and I'm going to throw Max in there too, that maybe because of pressure or because of like what the forums were and how they wanted people to have new material, and then they just kind of got steered into discussing certain things because those certain things are what people want to hear. And maybe like even a person might just veer off on what is true and within themselves. One thing that it gets me about Max, and well, why do you care about this? Well, what bothers me about it in terms of him is that the fact that his computer was wiped and that his SIM card was damaged. And so it looks like there was somebody that was trying to stop what he was doing. But again, my thought is, I know you're laughing at this, but you're smiling, but why? And then if he, let's say Max was a complete phony, right? But let's say he researched something and found something regardless that got him into hot water, even if that is possible to have happened.
Well, I honestly doubt it, because it's kind of like, why? Like there's been more credible people with more credible information who have died I mean,
But what if it
quicker,
has to do with
less.
like child trafficking or something like that?
Yeah, they're honestly, especially after seeing that group in person in 2013, they will fabricate the most lame crap out of nothing. Like there's so many of us sitting there who we all saw Casbolt go freaking crazy over there for no good goddamn reason. It wasn't no like demons telling him to do it. No, he's just a weird mofo. Okay. They all talk about being abducted, all coordinating their abduction story from that. Dude, that's all they do. They fabricate stuff. And when I read what, like, okay, this is how Max died, and some gunk came out of him, like the coke he liked to freaking snort all the time too. Like, and I'm not saying don't do drugs. Hey, I'm kind of an advocate, but at the same time, like that's an overdose. If you kind of use your practical freaking mind, he died of an overdose. Okay. And I also take kind of offense too, and it's not really offense, but I kind of have pick a bone with it because there has been assassination attempts on me, and they don't announce them, and I have had my computers wiped too, and it's not like it is like magic. Okay, it's like they don't have to do anything, like they don't have to go to you, they don't have to be in your area, they can just like remotely just shut down your devices. I've had this happen to me before, right? Because I have had some consultations on stuff that would be unclassified, but it wasn't supposed to be on my hard drives anymore, and they made sure of it, right? And it was like the most movie-like thing. I didn't know computers could be shut down this way, right? So if it wasn't something like that, I question the integrity of the characters around him. And so if you look, who were the characters around him, and what is their integrity line look like? Look at mine. So anyone who doesn't believe me, don't believe me, I don't give a fuck, right? I don't care if you believe me for a second, but look at my integrity line. I actually have a patent. I have lab tests to prove it. I have a professional, career now in software development and entertainment to certain degree. I'm working with a Breaking Bad actor every day of the week, right?
Wow.
So I look at the credibility.
It's not. Is it Stephen Kusada is it Detective Gomez is it Stephen Kusada?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's actually.
No, I know him. I know him. He's a comedian. Yeah, I used to work his comedy club in New Mexico.
Oh, cool, yeah.
But he had a comedy night.
He's one of the assassin twins from the Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Yeah, Daniel.
Okay.
We ended up becoming homies and been working with him for a couple of years now. A lot of fun. Like I said, a lot of stuff in the game industry. So.
Oh.
But yeah. So that's kind of one of my day jobs, I guess you could say now. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like these characters, like I said, that look at their credibility. It's like they have none, and that's kind of where you can see there's a bias in the media itself to put emphasis on these people. Because I'll give you an example: Solaris Blue Raven. It was another guest speaker at 2013. She has a very.
I remember that
story.
name. She used to have a show on Revolution Radio.
She has she still has a show, yes. And
like how when I heard
her story, yeah, and okay, when I first heard her story, I'm like, dude, this is either one of the most wild stories ever, or she's lying her ass off. And I went and looked it up, and I'm like, oh my god, this actually happened. It has to do with the band Rush, and dealing with psychotropic warfare and like items, and there was even a court case. Like she took him to court, and the judge was like, yeah, stop harassing this person, but there's no law against a death ray. So like they couldn't go, no, you don't shoot the satellite again. Like there's no law on that. But she can't harass people. So she proved that they were harassing her in this electronic fashion. But yeah, like I said, tangible evidence. A lot of these people, but let's talk to the guy who calls himself an assassin and now is preaching love and light. Like with anything to do with them.
Right? Yeah, I'm a former assassin, but I'm gonna preach love and light. Okay.
Yeah,
I get you.
Yeah, and then like the other lady that was there, Laura Blackwell, she actually is like a Marine and was like in a program where she's like, yeah, I'll go into it, and did and talked about it, and everyone just let's talk to this guy who's married to the person who has the mega chain in America of stores. You know what I mean, like. It was mind-boggling, and then it's not. Oh man, like I said, that's why it's like one of the reasons why I stopped talking, because it's like you're talking to the wall. Like it's like the real stuff gets washed aside, and you know what? And yeah, I am a little offended because I've had friends die. I've almost died And while all these freaking charlatans go, oh, they're trying to kill me again. Oh no, it's like, dude, that's not what happens. You would just be gone, dude. Or yeah, you're not that. You don't. Like I said, I couldn't move my arm. I have like there's medical evidence to that, right? Like all this other stuff. Like, where's your evidence? What have you guys done? Like, no one's trying to kill you, dude. Like, just stop. Like, especially like Sarah Adams, like her, she's ridiculous, dude. All she was arm candy for Max that time. Like, she was just like, I'm just a girl over there too. And then now all of a sudden she's like psychic mastermind. And like, she ain't gonna come at me. Like, she knows it. So I'll talk all day. Anyone, her little followers, whatever.
There's a couple things I want to add in, especially I want to get back to Sarah here for a second, but about the band Rush. All right. I got to check that out. But do you know that when I got married, okay, Geddy Lee from the band Rush, we were in Hawaii and my husband had long hair. So they kind of maybe got mistaken. And we were waiting for him to get married with his wife. This is 1990, by the way. And we finally did our wedding, right? And then all of a sudden, and we didn't have a cake. We had like some champagne, but we didn't think we were going to eat. This cake comes out. And what's really weird, Jerry, is I looked at the cake and I go, that's my cake. And I'm like, no, I don't have a cake. Why would I think that? I go, but in my mind, I felt like that was my cake. And then these people came on and the staff, this is your cake. And I go, we didn't order cake. And they go, yes, you did have a cake. And I go, what? And we had 16 people there, and there was like one piece left that we all shared, and everything was delicious, the best carrot cake I've ever had in my life. Then all of a sudden, this woman comes in and goes, "That's our cake! You ate our cake!" And so we ate Geddy Lee's cake from Rush. Nice. Okay, and then they finally got over it. They're like, oh, we go, congratulations. Oh, yeah, it's fine, dude. We don't care, And I was like, wow, yes, that's mine. And then there's my Geddy Lee. I'm divorced now, but that's my Geddy Lee story that that we ate his cake. So it's weird that there's this other thing going on with somebody who is like white. That's weird coincidence.
Yeah. Neil Peart, apparently the drummer. Yeah, he had like some specific interests. Like I'm not sure if Geddy and I'm forgetting his name right now, the guitarist, but yeah, Neil Peart definitely was like neck deep in like private information, I guess you can kind of call it, like a private reconnaissance group or something. You know what I mean? It was pretty trippy. Like I heard this story. I'm like, yeah, she's either crazy or this is one of the craziest stories, and it turned out to be one of the craziest stories. It's like you can find everything that happened there, and it's like, wow. Geez.
I gotta check her out. I'll have to check her out. Yeah. Solaris, because I remember her show. I never really listened. I should have listened. So let's talk about Sarah for a bit. I've been doing some coverage on her. She's gotten herself into some trouble. She, I mean, pretty big trouble. Awesome. Steve Harvey, the comedian, and she was, there's is that my cat back there?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, I can see him in the background. She did a mushroom ritual. She's now Native American, and, right. And, she's been doing like, what broke me off with Sarah was that I got wind that she was having somebody else doing her psychic readings for $50, and she was doing it for these high level celebrities for like $2,000 a pop. And I'm like, that's not right. She said some negative things about Vanessa Bates that I didn't really care for, and I was like, that's it. And so that was our parting of ways, basically. And so now, she's again with a celebrity's son, right? They ran an Airbnb in Jupiter, Florida, and she's supposed to she's a Reiki master, she comes out, she tells the police this, right? So she's a Native American, horticulture. She's, and Amanda has a problem with her liver, literally has had surgeries on it and, medications and pharmaceuticals that she didn't want to use. She transported the mushrooms across state lines, which is illegal. And she used a synthetic form of the mushrooms. And two of them had to be intubated, including Sarah herself. And, according to the police, nearly 3 people died. Yeah. And and I went over, I was privy to getting the police investigations, which nobody had heard before, except for Not My Rabbit Hole. And, I've gone over some of the body cam footage, which is very wild. And she's screaming and, they had to hold her down. And I mean, it's a big deal. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a guy named David Schurter who claims to be a satanic ritual abuse survivor that is now telling people that I'm a gatekeeper to Max Spears. And and I'm an old lady who was romantically interested in him, but I'm too ugly for him to be interested in me, which never happened. Never happened, right? I'm like 13 years, And I was in a relationship with Stephen D. Kelly the whole time, right? So, I mean, that's silly. We know that. That's kind of, not everybody knows it, but if you were around that time in this world, you knew that because I had you come on my show and talk about Stephen. So it's funny. I was talking to my mom about Stephen recently too. It's weird that he's coming up in my mind a lot. Apparently, get this is a real doozy. I'm friends with Tash, and basically I can't stand him. But apparently Tash and Sarah split, right? And there's been a big feud, and there's money in between that's gone on recently this year. And so according to David Schurter, Tash is on the dark web. We're besties, and we're both extorting and blackmailing Sarah Rachel Adams. And that came from Sarah. Sarah made that up. Wow, right? Crazy.
Jeez. Yeah. No, it's crazy. But not surprising, because that's the sensationalization is what that part of disinformation is about. Like they need sensational headlines to get people. Look, I mean, how you mentioned the Blue Avians. It's with Corey Good, that whole crap. It's like, they need that, because a lot of people do think this is just entertainment. Like, once again, they don't take it to the next deep level because it scares them, because they have to look at their own reflections and their own thoughts about what life is and what the universe is. And most people don't want to do that. They want to pretend that that there's some kind of control, that there's something good and big watching over everyone, and you get good points for being a nice person, you get points taken away for being a bad person. No, the stuff doesn't exist. So it scares everyone, and they don't really look into it. So it's easier to kind of keep this soap opera running of different stuff. And like Sarah obviously is a person who just is a living soap opera, man. Like I said, that just FYI, like when I met her in person for the first time at that 2013 thing, she did not claim to be psychic. She did not claim to be part of any program. She specifically said she wasn't. She said she was just there as Max's boyfriend, etc., etc. Yeah. So girlfriend, exactly. But
Max's boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean, I get kind of confused with all the work she's had lately. I just what is that? But just kind of
I think that is like her biggest mistake, is that she messed with her face.
I mean, and I'm not checking her out. Like, so I'm happy
right.
with her, but
but she was really pretty.
She does not look good. She did look better. Yes, she looked more pretty, I think, too, than before. Yes. But like I said, she was.
I want to age like Diane Keaton. All right, I think to me that's like being a woman that ages gracefully. I don't think she ever really had any work done.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look good anyways. Like, it just looks weird. So but either way, that a lot of these characters, because you have to look at some of their motivations. You can kind of see the money was the motivation with a lot of these people. That's the motivator.
Yeah.
Then they're full of crap. Like, same thing, like how I mentioned, like Wilcox and Good there. Like, their money is their motivator. And like, what have you heard me say? I don't want your money. I mean, you've heard me say, like, if you need help and you don't got it, I don't want your money. And So like listen to things like that, because yes, I'm being genuine. Like that's like how I mentioned, that's one of the reasons why I've been created a nonprofit, because like you couldn't do it for money, like because it was kind of dicked. Like all these people are again terrorizing their home. And they're like, well, it's going to cost you about $300-$500, like the church does, right? We've cleaned up after a lot of Catholic priests, man. Let me tell you, they tend to piss things off because you know what? A lot of stuff here, a lot of entities have no idea or care what your Jesus is. They've been here way longer, or they come from somewhere else, isn't here. Okay. And so it does nothing at all.
What
Hate
do
to break
you
that
think
to
about
you, but
what do you think about Laura Eisenhower?
Laura, I mean, okay, honestly I feel a little betrayed by her.
Uh-huh.
You know, there was a time where she was going through a rough breakup and made a huge spectacle of herself at the Conscious Life Expo. All these healers and people with so much compassion distanced and ran from her because she was slobbering drunk, falling over the floor, yelling stuff out, being belligerent. Who was there? Me and Vanessa, my wife. We were the ones taking care of her all night. You know, picking her up off the floor, you know, following her, make sure she didn't do anything stupid, right? And then now let's fast forward years later. I'm seeing Trump come up, and I see her starting to pimp him, and I start talking crap, and then all of a sudden she cuts me off. So I'm like, all right, so I see how it is.
Oh, she's pimping Trump.
Yeah, so she says she doesn't, but she was towing that line big time. And then and it was all like happened to be when Trump's making a new Eisenhower thing that she might go to and as well and blah blah blah. Oh, you're not political, okay. And you kind of just forgot like I said, like literally all the people that people pay money to see to heal them or to counsel them all looked her over, did not help her at all. Who was there? Me and my wife. So like hypocrites, all of them, hypocrites. So just keep that in mind when you see the big names over there. They all could have stepped in and helped the great granddaughter of the president, but they did not, because they did not want to be embarrassed by her, because she was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, dude. Like, it was like, it was so sad. If it was filmed, like, and someone tried to recreate it as a movie, they would not believe that really happened. It was so bad, right? And so, like I said, I do feel betrayed by her because, and now she told me her experience about like the Mars thing, which I found intriguing, because it's like I'm not counting out. To me, it makes sense that there's probably bases all over, like even based off of what I've seen with those 3rd gen night vision. Okay, they can definitely be on other planets, okay? Let alone what we've also seen through declassified documents, right? They're probably on other planets. So that story, in a lot of ways, probably isn't the most far fetched to me. But she's erratic. She's just kind of an erratic person, like so.
Do you know that I'm actually related to her, Laura Eisenhower? I know that sounds weird, but through marriage, because my Aunt Lillian was Dwight D. Eisenhower's cousin, and she was married to my great uncle, and I didn't really know this until after I had already started doing this media, and then I found out about 6 years ago. About 6 years ago. And I thought, how come nobody told me this? Right?
Yes, it's one of those things. Yeah, I guess if you didn't ask, I guess.
And then here I end up in this world, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. That's kind of weird. I sent her, I think through Skype, but she never responded to me, so I don't know. I know she's there, and there's this Eisenhower alien connection.
Yeah,
for sure.
Apparently so. Yeah, that was one of the things I didn't realize about the whole ufology story about the president meeting actually over at Edwards Air Force Base before it was called that. Stuff like that, and how like other people who aren't public figures, they're just actual ex-Air Force people, have told me that Edwards is in a lot of ways is kind of like the control tower for the space flights. So it handles a lot of the air traffic that goes in and out of, like, say, Vandenberg or A51, stuff like that. And so I didn't, like I said, I really didn't realize how tied into the ufology it was. I just knew that I
he's
figured
also
out
tied
that's what it
into the
was.
CIA and the OSS. Eisenhower is,
Well,
and
well,
you
yeah.
know, and the secret war that took over in Vietnam and Laos.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
actually
come
that was one
on,
of the
I
things.
mean, there is a lot going on with all
Well,
of this.
and on that subject, actually, that was one of
Yeah.
the things that, like, I mentioned my uncle. He was on the sister ship to the Philadelphia experiment. It was
Oh
they had the
wow.
anti-sonar on that ship too, and like he said that they were sitting off the coast of Laos at the end of the Vietnam War, and they couldn't see him, like, because they're using this device and like that. And he said he remembers everyone was tense because if it didn't work, they were going to get bombed out of the ocean, like, because they were right in the path of all the artillery. But he said it worked, but they couldn't be on outside, like everyone had to be inside the ship and stuff like this. And like I said, he never went public. He told me that like over beer at a public place while just still making sure no one was hearing, you know what I mean? So but yeah, so there's definitely some stuff going on back in the day, and it made sense because even to me, like, trying to logically piece together some of the technology that I seen, I'm like, it was still so light years ahead of what we had in the 80s and 90s, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of like, is that even possible? And then you start researching and finding out about how far along some of the technology really has been, what we can see, let alone what's hidden from us. And it makes sense. And that's kind of one of the things, like when I heard Dan Burrish talk about the looking glass, like that, what he describes is pretty similar to some of the stuff that I've experienced. There's a type of technology, or people have heard about things like the chair, quote unquote. For me, it wasn't the chair didn't do crap. It wasn't the chair, as far as I could recall. Like I said, no one gave me a briefing. I didn't see a manual, but from what I could tell, it was more about like this like apparatus around it that kind of did stuff, and it was almost like the screen that would come down, or something that it's like this thing that would come down, and then you would be somewhere else. And so it wasn't necessarily the chair that did it per se. And even talking about that thing, like I have people say, like, don't talk about that thing. like well, it doesn't exist though. It doesn't exist.
Orlando's starting to act up. He's getting fussy now. What is it time for your little bit more snack? Are we ready for more stuff? You want attention? Well, I fed him a little bit beforehand, but I give him half like early, and then I give him the other half later, and I kind of spread it out for him. But
getting close to that time. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, come on. What's happening? You want to say hi? Want to say hi to everybody? It's a little fussy cat. Well, I have enjoyed having you on on Not My Rabbit Hole, and we had a pretty good turnout. I mean, we've gotten like an act. Oh, but there is one question here that we have. Mm-hmm. What nationality is Ismael Perez?
I don't know. Google it, man. Like, I don't know who that is.
Do you know who that is?
Oh, no. I'm not familiar.
I have no idea either. Should we look it up? I don't know. Maybe like next time we'll look it up and we'll talk about it later. Where do you see the future? I mean, now that James Rink has passed away. Mm-hmm. And he has had a lot of influence on a lot of people, and I do find that there is a camaraderie within the people that are around Super Soldier Talk, and there are a lot of people that believe that they're super soldiers and they identify with it, and maybe there is something going on with them. I mean, I have to question. I mean, I go, why am I interested in this topic? Why have I always been interested in this particular topic? And I just keep wanting to like break it apart. Who knows? Right? I mean, and a lot of us are attracted to this particular topic. There might be people that are attracted because they are having thoughts about themselves that way, or maybe they just understand it, like they're like, oh yeah, I understand this, or I get this. But there's definitely a community that happens, and it's almost like a religion for some people. It becomes their new reality of what they think reality is, which is also something that was this media. We called ourselves the truth media. We said we're the alternative to what you're seeing in the mainstream. We're really going in and revealing these things. And then what I found out later on is a lot of these things weren't really real, or there was a basis of reality to them, but they were stretched out of proportion to look like something else. And then that whole thing where it becomes like a religion or a spirituality or your spiritual knowledge is a huge mind manipulation for a Sarah Rachel Adams to come in and scoop up things and manipulate people and basically get money out of them. And that's the aspect of it's the fact that you're not really seeing what's real because you're still you're still in that sort of like belief system, and that I'm in a group mentality. That's how I observe it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Because still, even though sightings are becoming more common, people have had experiences, like we're still talking a relative small percentage of people have experienced a lot of these things. And so a lot of people want to be included. They want to feel like it's tangible because they haven't experienced it, because like they're kind of more in a boring life, in a sense. So I think they feel like they have to embellish some things or to embellish things about themselves, because this kind of what I'm saying. Like if you've actually went through it, it's a trauma. It's not good. It's not like, oh, I think I might have been this super soldier fighting in the tunnels for freedom. And no, dude, you don't get those. That's not what it's like in terms of at least from my experience and some of the other experiencers of the MyLab phenomenon, who seem to be genuine, right? And how do you know they're genuine? Like I said, how tangible is the information that they give you? You know what I mean? Because I've tested myself, right? Like there's people who were stationed on Edwards, right? And I would tell them my story, and I'd be like, well, hey, okay, I'd give them this example. I'd say, hey, are you remember, this one building, right, where you a lot of the, where the radio tower would be, et cetera, and how if you go this way, and then if you look to the right, you're gonna see like these kind of bunkers that go down a little bit, right? He's like, and I'm like, well, how would I know that if I wasn't there? You can't see that on Google, what I just described. And so like that's what I'm saying. Like, can you verify this? Can these people verify some of these information somehow? That's one of the reasons how I knew I wasn't full of crap. I wasn't just making it up. I knew these were real places, along with the fact that I would have these experiences and they would coincide with, say, stuff that's in the news. Like they flew experimental aircraft out of there that I seen. I could have drawn. You know what I mean? Stuff like this. So how much of that information is coming out of some of these people? Like, if they're willing to share. Because sometimes it can be dangerous. It definitely can. Right? And it's usually not the government, quote unquote, because if the government wants you, they're just going to get you. Like they have every resource, they can get you. It's the people in between. There's a lot of private military companies who specialize in certain types of information gathering. Those are the ones that are annoying. Those are the ones who you're going to hear the wire being tapped. You're going to notice your computer being messed with. The government, like they're either not going to know, or they're pretty much just going to kick your firewall down and say, "Hey, this was NSA, f you." So they generally don't hide. They either don't see it or they just boom right in.
But bye. Thank you for coming in. I know your real name, but thank you for being here. So it's nice to see you. I know we're talking about things that, in ways that, because I wanted to have you on. I realize that maybe there's some people that aren't going to agree with, your opinion or, what this is or whatever. But, on my show, like Not My Rabbit Hole, right? I like to bring everybody to the table, or, I've known you. I wanted to hear your thoughts. I respect what you have to say. And, I'm not saying I don't agree with you or whatever, but even if, I don't have to agree with somebody. It's important to listen to what somebody else says, because it might just be true. It might be, we need to keep this dialogue open, because there has been a lot of deception and a lot of people have been manipulated in this particular media, and they have been gone for healing or things and have been damaged over it. And, it's those kind of you know, when you look at a Corey Good, or you look at you know, David Wilcock. I mean, I used to follow David Wilcock back in 2012.
Yeah.
You know, I thought
He started
that
with Good Men Analysis. Yeah.
right. And I was like, oh, and I lapped it all up. And then I was like, first of all, all of a sudden his forehead just got really huge. I mean, does he not start? He's starting to look like, you know, that entity Lamb to me. You know, it's like his forehead's getting bigger and his eyes are getting smaller. And I'm like, what is going on here? You know, and he just, you know, he's just saying whatever. And again, he's gone real right. He's gone real, you know, he's quoting, what's his name? I don't know, this Twitter account, something, you know, and like something, I can't think of the name right. Ezra something, whatever, you know, like as if, which is borderline 17th letter of the alphabet. And, you know, he had a 17th letter of the alphabet ebook that he came out. And, you know, and the whole thing about, I was telling my mom about like Simon Parks. And I was just going, I go, yeah, he says he has sex with the alien cat queen. And my mom's like laughing, right? And she's like, what? And like, you got to be. And I go, and he's a big Trump guy. And I go, he's in the UK. And he goes, no, don't do anything to my president. I'm like, dude, you don't even live in the United States. Stop saying that he's your president. You know, it's like these of things that just really get to me. I'm like, shut up. You're like you don't get to talk anymore when you say that you're having sex with an alien cat queen. And you know, I just don't want to hear it. I'm sorry. I just stop. I'm sorry. He lost me at Cat Queen.
Yeah, I mean, it's like even if that's true, like you don't have to share that part with everyone, homie. Like you don't talk about all that in open public, anyways, right? Like, so just keep it to yourself, dude. Yeah, it's true, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are into sensationalism, and yeah, I know I bring a counterpoint to a lot of stuff, but the difference between me and most of the audience out there is I was actually there. I was a guest at these conferences. I was asked to speak. I was right next to these people. You know what I mean? Et cetera, et cetera. Have you been? You know what I mean? I've also had the other experiences that I've talked about in terms of like the different MyLab stuff, et cetera. Have you? If you haven't, then hey, you might want to listen. And like I said, and the stuff that I'm talking about, I don't expect you to believe me. Go ahead and find out. Like, you know what I mean? Go ahead. Like, because yeah, like battle rights and purposes, what I'm talking about is hearsay, and the stuff that is tangible, you can find the evidence to it. You know what I mean? Like even stuff like Eisenhower, I'm sure you can find people that'll test the fact she was falling down drunk, and some long-haired big dude and some little Filipino chick were dragging her around all night. So, but and then you can see me pictures back in the day with Bob Dean, all these people, you know, freaking Project Camelot. You can see me a lot of these places, so you'll see my picture there. So if you doubt me, and like I said, look me up, look my name up in patent, you'll find I have a patented technology. And for those who are interested, it's actually like an evolved type of orgonite. That's kind of where the research started from. Like, well, what can we do with this material, and how can we advance it? And I actually, achieved it, and was almost killed for it, for making cars run better and people live longer. Like, yes, it's true. People do not want you to do that. Like, and it's not the government; it's these private industries who have a lot of power. And yeah, like, and even knowing that, going into industry, not trying to be arrogant. Like, I didn't go in there saying I'm going to disrupt the industry. No, dude. Like, I even had conversations with a very affluent person in the automotive industry, right? They even asked me, like, what would you say to someone who says this shouldn't ever see the light of day, at least for right now? And I told them, like, I'm assuming that's going to be like maybe like oil interests, automotive interests. It's like, yeah, probably. And I'm like, I'm all to them. I would listen to them because I'm not in that industry. I don't have centuries now in that industry. So how am I to say that I know what's best for it? And this big sinister smile came over this guy's face, right? And I remember I went with one of my other business partners. I told him after we got done, well, I think we avoided assassination again today. He's like, yeah, I think so too. Because yeah, no, this guy was very serious. And he even told us in the beginning, he's like, I took this meeting out of courtesy to our common associate. He's like, I don't wish you ill will on your business attempt, but I can't help you. But he is one of the people that he straight up asked, like, what would you say to someone that said you should get, but the real mean ones, they don't ask. They just act, and they act severely, and I've lost friends. You know, one of my close friends and mentors in engineering was killed during this time, and was suicided. And I know it was suicide because when we were working on this project, we told each other, like, hey, we have to have this conversation. Number one, are you suicidal? No. Could you be? Would you be? No. If you had to, how would it be? You know what I mean? And we had that information, so we knew. And so when I find this guy, because he specifically said he would not want to leave a mess for his mom. And so when I find out he shoots himself in the head with a shotgun, oh, wow, yeah, it sounds like him. That sounds exactly like what he told me. You know what I mean? So I do take, like, that's one of the things that definitely fires me up is when people get suicided, or all the different inventors who aren't as lucky as me, who didn't make it, who are just trying to help people. You know, so think about that. If you're going to bash me, I'm one of the people who are trying to help you. You know what I mean? And I've almost died for it. So go ahead and talk all your shit. Well, it doesn't mean anything to me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
On that note, I love that. I think we should, end on that strong phrase that you said. And my cat is starting to go crazy, and it's not going to get any better. I've got to give him attention. And he went, yes, come here. Come here. He says, I'm done. I'm done. Come, I don't know what you're doing looking at this thing right here and talking. So he doesn't get it. Yeah. So thank you for, being here. And again, if somebody wanted to contact you, if they wanted to get help with trauma and things like this, where could they contact you at? Again, one more time.
Yeah, specifically for the metaphysical paranormal stuff, the Hollow Tree, TheHollotree.com. That has a lot of the metaphysical stuff. Or like I said, just look jerryavalos.com. You'll find the link to there and some other stuff I got going on there as well.
So we had quite a few people come in and out. It hasn't been too bad. I don't normally, it's been a while since I did a late show. I appreciate you being on here. I hope you will come back again sometime.
Absolutely.
We can talk more about different things and aspects. And Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.
All right. And everybody, Happy New Year. And I will be back online doing a show very soon. And thank you for everybody that was in the chat. Puppy Mafia, Jenny, I'm going to say Jenny. Nice that you were here. And thanks one more time to my guest, Jerry Avalos. See you next time.
On the stripper's pole, laughing loud all for the love, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. He ain't no Saint Germain, no crown, no name. He plays the game sharp as a flame. Who's to blame for the stolen fame? A shadow dance in the devil's frame. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. City lights and sirens scream, truth and lies blend like a dream. Wicked smiles, a clever scheme, chasing gold in the neon gleam. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. Fast, can't find the ground. Echoes of chaos all around. You chose this dance, this mad parade, but not every choice gets accolades. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. Spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. City lights and sirens scream, truth and lies blend like a dream. Wicked smiles, a clever scheme, chasing gold in the neon gleam. Going down the rabbit hole, losing control, Spinning wild on the stripper pole, laughing loud all for the lows. But baby, that's not my rabbit hole.